Today we are going to do a messages from spirit reading, and the intention is simply but powerfully to get messages for you from spirit at the time you view this video. And my intention is to pull one card from each of these decks in order to do that. So this here is the Master Ascension's Light Code deck, and this is the Earth Magic deck. So we're going to get our main message from this Light Code deck and a clarifier from the Earth Magic. So here we go. Messages for the viewer from spirit at the time they view this video, please. Messages for the viewer. Now, as we're waiting for this card to come out, I have to tell you about these cutie pies. Are they not so cute? Oh my God, they're so cute. They just have been blooming. They're in full bloom for the first time today. So they had just started blooming 2 days ago. There it is. Look at that creation. Wow. And I think, okay, before we move forward, I believe I did, so this is a relatively new deck to me, the Light Code Ascension deck. And about 3 weeks ago, so this ties into the plant, so I guess it's a great segue anyways. So I was going to tell you about this plant. This plant was a gift to me about 3 weeks ago. At the time I'm recording this, it is the end of January in Minnesota. So it's the dead of winter, and I get this beautiful plant at my doorstep. And 3 weeks ago, there was 3 tiny little peaks of buds, or I don't know what you call them, but you know what I mean? Like little cutie pies just popping through. Tiny little, like not even an inch high. That was 3 weeks ago. And then look at what's happened in 3 weeks. So like the first couple days that I had it, I did a recording with it before it was blooming. And I used this deck, the Light Code Ascension deck, or excuse me, what's it called? It's a new deck to me. It's a really beautiful, powerful deck. Master Ascension Light Code deck. So I used this deck to do, for the first time during that reading. And I am almost positive this card came out, which is wild. Right? So what I'm going to do, because the plant is the same, because this card is the same, we're using the same deck, I will link up that reading in the description box of this video, because I'm getting the sense there might be something there for you as well. In fact, if this is all resonating with you, you might want to check that one out first and then come back to it again, or come back to this one afterwards, is what I was trying to say. So, wow, this is exciting already. Let's get a Earth Magic clarifier, and then we'll read about both these cards and debrief the energy a little bit. And as we do all that, I hope you enjoy these flowers as much as I am. I just think they are so beautiful. They are so beautiful, and they have just skyrocketed out of this soil. And literally there are like stems and buds above my camera. So you're just getting like the shortest stems. This is like I mean, it's like anywhere, it's got to be 18 inches to 2 feet, the tallest one. Let's see if 2 of them came out. I think it's this upright one. Ooh, look at that. Spring equinox, rebirth. Well, isn't that interesting to come out? So I was talking about how we're in the middle of winter here, right? But these flowers are not the essence of winter, right? They're like this essentially little burst of spring almost in my home in the middle of winter. So I love that the spring equinox rebirth card came out. So look at these two together for a moment. Look at those two women just staring so intently. It feels powerful, doesn't it? So beautiful together. So let's read about these cards. Let's decipher the energy, shall we? Okay. So we're starting with the creation card, and it says, make your visions real. So it goes like this. Let's see if I can put this. I don't have a ton of room with these plants. We'll do it like that, huh? Okay. Here we go. Awakening to the energy of the creation, awakening to the energy of the creation. You are a celestial architect, perfectly aligned with the vivifying pulse of the cosmos itself. Your essence, a conscious beacon of luminosity, possesses the divine capacity to weave together the strands of existence and usher in unprecedented realities. You are an artist of life whose masterpiece has been taking shape since time immemorial. However, with the veil of illusion lifted, your creations now flow from a wellspring of lucidity and authentic intent. The symphony of creation begins by aligning with the Vesica Pisces sacred geometry, a divine design that interweaves masculine and feminine energies. Well, that's so interesting because the reading that I did before that I already mentioned was a Vesica Pisces reading. And it was the first one I had ever done. And I think this card for sure came out because I believe I mentioned how weird it was that Vesica Pisces comes out in a Vesica Pisces reading. So once again, if you are intrigued by this reading, it's resonating, you might want to go to that reading because there might be something there for you. Okay, onward. As the spheres of this shape overlap, a cosmic womb emerges where galaxies spiral, revealing a stage for the genesis of extraordinary beginnings. Oh my gosh. That's sort of wild when we have the rebirth card, the spring equinox card. And that is what it is like essentially saying here, extraordinary new beginnings, right? But like it's not at the summer stage, right? It's at where things are kind of maybe just popping out of the soil stage or still germinating within the soil. Yeah, and we'll have to see what happens, but it's interesting too because so these little nature babies, whether they're potted or in the past, they were outside my home on walks and in my yard, they're calling me to record them. So I got way behind on editing because at one point I had like 50 videos that were waiting to be edited. Now I think I'm at like 35. So my point in saying that is I wonder if by the time I actually get to editing this video and releasing it, if it is actually around the spring equinox. How wild would that be? That's about a little less than 2 months away. That would be wild. Okay, we'll see what happens. Onward. To initiate the divine dance, and real quick, the Vesica Pisces is like a Venn diagram. So like this here. So that's the reading that I did. But so it's talking about like the divine feminine and the divine masculine coming together, not just in terms of a partnership with another person, but in each of us, we each have we're each intended to work in our own unique way with divine feminine and divine masculine energy to birth creations. And so that's what this Vesica Pisces symbol is all about. All right, it says to initiate this divine dance, articulate your intent. Formulate a statement of your deepest desire, manifested in the present tense, such as, I am joyfully embracing the limitless bounty of universal wealth. Conclude your decree with the potent affirmation, and so it is. Envision this intention spiraling within the Vesica Pisces, rotating clockwise towards you and nestling within your heart. For the span of 23 days, cradle this intention each day. So real quick, I'm just really getting the sense that this is like very specific information. So our intention was messages for the viewer from Spirit at the time you view this video, and I'm getting this specific like practice feels like it is coming through for you. So if this is resonating, I think pay attention to this. For the span of 23 days, cradle this intention each day. Direct its energy down your spiritual conduit, grounding it into the fertile earth. Draw it back upward, allowing it to burst forth from your crown, dispersing it into the vibratory toric field, encircling your form. This divine energy spirals swiftly around you, seeding your intention into the holographic field until it is known and transformed into tangible reality. Remember, you are a mighty creator. The potency of, and as what's coming to me there is, how it says here, after you say your intent in the present tense, starting with I am, you say, and so it is. I'm almost getting the sense that even after that, or even before it, just saying, I am a mighty creator. I am joyfully embracing the limitless abundance of universal wealth, and so it is. Or, I am joyfully embracing the bounty of universal wealth. I am a mighty creator, And so it is. Just adding that as a reminder, or maybe, well, I guess that's a right way to say it, as a reminder to your subconscious of your power. I am a mighty creator. And mighty creator just feels nice, doesn't it? I like that. Okay. Remember, you are a mighty creator. The potency of your thoughts, intentions, words, and actions cannot be overstated. You magnify and amplify energy through your mindful intention. As you dance with the rhythm of creation, you are enveloped and fortified by the energies of revered masters. Hathorn nurtures you with vivacity and wholeness. Mary Magdalene emboldens you with strength, resilience, and audacity to articulate your truth. Mother Mary showers you with love, encouraging self-love, while Grandmother Spider weaves luminous threads from her hand, connecting you to the intricate web of all existence. Kali illuminates your path with radiant light, instigating power and cultivating boundaries to harness infinite potentialities. In your journey of creation, remember that you are never alone. Legions of angels walk beside you, supporting your every step toward birthing a new reality. Towards birthing new realities. With diligent discipline, an unshakable trust, and a deep knowing that permeates each cell of your being, what you proclaim will manifest in reality, and your dreams will bloom into existence. Oh my God, I just love that. Will bloom into existence. And then we've got the beautiful blooms here today. Okay. In essence, as a master creator, you harness the power to shape reality with your intentions. As you journey through this sacred creation process, remember that you are held and uplifted by cosmic energies and divine legions. I'm just going to put this card here so we remember what it looks like. It's not this one. Okay. My apologies. We'll start again here. In essence, as master creator, you harness the power to shape realities with your intentions. As you journey through the sacred creation process, remember you are held and uplifted by cosmic energies and divine legions. With trust and dedication, your reality will resonate with the melody of your dreams. And wow, I just love that. With trust and dedication, your reality will resonate with the melody of your dreams. So there's something here like, so I'm almost getting like a prayer too coming through, which is like, may my reality resonate with my dreams. Or the melody, excuse me. May my reality resonate with the melody of my dreams. May my reality resonate with the melody of my dreams. Because there's definitely an essence here of grounding your dreams into reality. If you listen to my readings before, you know that in tarot, in a toxic sense, the Seven of Cups card is a card of not being able to ground your dreams into reality. So as you know, the way I interpret cards and tarot is there can be, positive and negative aspects to anyone. So the beautiful aspect of the Seven of Cups is you have a lot of choices. You are dreaming about a life you would love. You're fantasizing, which is a really beautiful and important part of manifestation, right? But when it turns toxic is when we cannot figure out how to ground those dreams into reality. And so I just love this mantra / prayer, which is your reality, may my reality resonate with the melody of my dreams, right? So it's like, I do think the idea, and look at this creation card. Creation says, make your vision real. So there's this, I love this idea of like narrowing the gap between what we envision, between the joy we know we can experience, the peace we know we can experience, the community, the harmony we know we can experience, and our actual reality, and paying close attention to that gap. You know what I mean? Because I think it's uncomfortable to pay attention to that gap, but there's a lot of information in that gap, right? Between what we say we want and what we're actually living. And I think the better and better we get at creation, the more we are narrowing that gap, but we're not always forcing it to be overnight, right? Because it says here, like, with trust and dedication. So what does dedication imply? It implies that it takes persistence, and it's a process. Do you know what I mean? And as we allow it to be a process, then we can allow that gap to narrow. I think sometimes when we, and I wonder if we talked about this in that last reading, or maybe there was a reading recently I did where we talked about this. So if there was another reading where we talked about this, I'll link it up. But otherwise, I might be just repeating myself a bit from the last reading. But I think there is just something so powerful in this idea of actually experiencing what we say we want. Because I think, I think like toxic spirituality had like, it got us to really dream, right? Like, but I think there's a difference between getting us as a human species to think outside the box, to blow open ideas of what our life could be, and then to actually live well. Do you know what I'm saying? Like living beautifully, like truly living beautifully more often than not, or more today than I was yesterday, is an art, and it's a practice, and it's a process, right? But I think that's what we all should be going for, is this like collapsing the hypocrisy is what's coming to me. I don't think I've ever said that before, but to a certain extent, that gap between what we say we want and what we're actually experiencing is almost a hypocrisy, right? And I don't say that to like call you out or anything. I just say that to like, I think it's wise for us to ask ourselves, like, why aren't we living what we say we want? Do you know what I mean? Not to drown in shame or to punish ourselves with shame, but instead to get information from the gap. And instead of like going into distorted thinking or delusion and not looking at the reality of the gap, but instead really being with the reality of the gap, but holding that paradox of, can I be with the reality of the gap without shaming myself? Because I think that is where, or I'll speak from my own experience, that has been for me where the magic is at. If I can hold the paradox of being with the reality of my gap, but not shaming myself, because then I can get information from the gap and then baby step my way to narrowing that gap. And there's still a massive gap that I'm feeling in my life, so I don't mean to imply that I am living everything that I dream of. This is a practice for me, but I will say my mundane has gotten so magical over the last few years. Not every moment, of course, but just like my everyday living, there is really just some magic and peace and joy to it that I had never experienced in the past. And the only way I have been able to achieve that, you can say, is by letting myself look at the gap. Do you know what I mean? Again, there's a paradox there, right? The more magic I'm experiencing is because of the willingness to look at where it was absolutely not magical. Do you know what I mean? Looking at the gap, holding space for the gap, being with the reality of things, labeling things accurately versus in a delusional or distorted way, has been absolutely probably one of the number one things that has led to true healing, true integration, more and more wholeness, which leads all of that to more and more magic. But it seems sort of weird, right? Because it almost seems like we should focus on the fantasy. And I think this is what I'm kind of like word vomiting at you here, but this is what I'm trying to get at. Sometimes in order to be a master creator, we certainly need the North Star of our fantasy, but sometimes focusing on the fantasy can be that toxic fantasy thinking. It can be that toxic Seven of Cups. Sometimes we have to focus on the gap. Do you know what I mean? We have to focus, we have to be with the gap. We have to get information from the gap so that we're not forever fantasizing, but we're actually baby step by baby step grounding the experience of what we want in our reality. So I guess I'm just like excited that this card, being the creation card, is such a grounded version of it, and is expressing that so beautifully in things like, with true dedication, your reality will resonate with the melody of your dreams. God, I just love that. Okay, so once again, I think a beautiful, prayer slash affirmation for yourself is, may my reality resonate with the melody of my dreams. Okay, let's finish this here. It says, embrace the universe's wisdom with an open heart and celebrate the transformative power of your beliefs and self-worth on your spiritual journey. Well, and I think like embrace the universe's wisdom with an open heart. I think that's kind of what I was trying to express too, with a willingness to be with the gap. Do you know what I mean? So, of course, giving ourselves time and space to dream and fantasize. But I think a willingness to be with the gap is a willingness to embrace the universe's wisdom with an open heart. Because why is there a gap, right? There is a gap simply and powerfully because there's something we don't know yet. There are beliefs and definitions that are in our own life and world that are distorted. There are assumptions we're making that are untrue. And so when we're willing to see things differently, I'm willing to see things differently, that's another really powerful affirmation to practice that comes from A Course in Miracles. Then what we're really doing is instead of saying, oh, I know what to do, or trying to fill the gap with our assumptions that haven't worked in the past. And you guys, I'm speaking from prolonged experience on my end. It's so much more powerful to be willing to embrace the universe's wisdom, right? So willingness to be like, I don't know what's going to fill the gap, but I'm willing to listen to life. And I'm willing to acknowledge the gap. And I'm willing to be open to the universe's wisdom. And I just think that is where our power lies. It's not in knowing everything, but it is simply in powerfully being willing to embrace the universe's wisdom. Wow, this is such a powerful card. So finally, it says symbolism. Ascended Master Sophia holds the creation light code. She is depicted within the galactic womb space, the black void filled with shimmering quantum energy from which all creation emanates. She cradles a being within her own womb, portraying the divine creation of man himself. Emanating from her being are atoms and electrons, molecules and matter and antimatter as her crown jewels. At the helm, we see 4 conjoined golden spirals aligning with the Sirius star. Within her being, there are templates of sacred structures and light matrices of the Tree of Life. Kabbalah explains the relationship between the infinite, represented by the star and crown, Kather, and my apologies if you've tuned in to my readings before, you know I have some trouble with pronunciation, so my apologies. So maybe Kather? I think maybe I'll say Kather. Kather, the mortal or the finite universe of Source's creation as the correspondence between the macrocosm and the microcosm. Each sphere of the Tree of Life carries within it a nested Metatron's cube, further nested with platonic solids, all of which are building blocks of creation. At the base of the Tree of Life is a spiral life portal, the most sacred yoni. The creative language of the universe is sacred geometry, and it is these sacred structures that form our new ascension blueprint. Beautiful. And then finally, we will read the Earth Magic card. I'll let you see this though really quickly, a little closer in case there's some imagery / sacred geometry that isn't interesting or helpful or intriguing to you. But I found it interesting that it mentioned the Tree of Life simply and powerfully because the back of the Earth Magic deck is this Tree of Life. Okay, so as a clarifier, gosh, and I just love these 2 cards together. Don't you just love that? They just look really beautiful together with this gorgeous plant. Okay, onward. So we'll read about this, like I said, as a clarifier. I think before we do though, I think there's definitely really joyful, positive vibes. When I get like a moving forward, uplifting vibe, it feels like this to me in these readings. Like you might notice, I notice sometimes when I'm editing that I do this a lot with my hands when I get that vibe, and that's just kind of the indication of the moving forward energy I get. But I'm definitely getting that here. These cards are so beautiful together. So we get this creation card, which is about grounding, but then we get this like equinox card, which is this rebirth. And so I think this is a beautiful sign that there's potential for some really positive shifts in your world. Okay, so let's read about the spring equinox card. Rebirth. The spring equinox, also called the vernal equinox, not sure if that's how to pronounce it, occurs on March 20th or 21st in the northern hemisphere and September 20th or 21st in the southern hemisphere. This is the point when the sun crosses the plane of the equator, and spring and night are the same length across the planet. Mother Earth is pregnant and is birthing once again. Crops can once again be planted. This card features a rendition of Ostara, a Germanic goddess of spring. Ostara is also the Northern European name for Astrat, which means womb. It is another name for Venus, the goddess of love, passion, and creativity. The Christian holiday of Easter stems from this goddess. In this card, we see from the archetypal symbols of spring, of the spring equinox, that represents the rebirth of the world, such as rabbits, eggs, and flowers. It is indeed a time for renewal. Oh, I just got goosebumps for you. Ooh, what a beautiful sign. Okay, it goes on to say, you thought this passage you have been through would never end. Just as certain as the light of the world fades every few months, makes its return, the earth rejoices. The fresh breath of spring sweeps away the cobwebs acquired from the absence of the light. The light is now obviously increasing as nature begins to emerge in her many forms, shapes, and colors that remind us of the continual cycles of Mother Earth. This cycle of rebirth you are experiencing follows a considerably challenging time. Any tears that you may have shed have cleared the way for what has been gestating, which is now ripe and ready to emerge. That which no longer serves you needs to be put to rest so that the fresh and newness of spirit can make itself known to you. Sometimes birth can be painful, particularly in that passage just before delivery. Yet what emerges can be fresh and beautiful. Be the emergence of this next cycle with faith. Be with the emergence of this next cycle with faith and grace. Wow. That is so beautiful. And I'm just thinking about even, it said sometimes birth is painful and potent, right? Or I'm adding those words, but regardless, I'm thinking about this plant. Once again, most of these beautiful green stems were not even visible above soil 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago, right? So think of the concentrated energy that had to be like built up and then now has been at work in the last 3 weeks to produce stems that are anywhere from 18 inches to 2 feet tall, right? So I think there's like a potency here that wants to be like a permission to allow potency that wants to be said. And again, it's like a paradox because there's also like a grace in the unfolding, right? And this really grounded energy. But then this idea too that like a lot can change quickly. And I love what it said, like when we're going through dark nights of the soul / tunnels / whatever you want to call it, where it's difficult, it can feel like it will never end. However, if we are using those times, there is always a rebirth at some point, right? But the rebirth, it's been my experience, can be interesting and weird and potent and powerful and uncomfortable and even sometimes painful too. And so even though there's a lot of beauty here, I think there is also, there's permission to be potent and permission to, or maybe better said, like, if you are feeling potent energy and not all of it is joyful, to realize that that's part of the process too. And to sum all this up, I keep thinking of an album, and it's by Allison Russell, and it's called The Returner, and it's just like an absolutely brilliant album. I thought of it for 2 reasons. First, the very first song on the album is Springtime. But second, it's just like this. It feels like this beautiful musical slash artistic representation of the birthing, creation, dark night of the soul process, or maybe we should say like dark night of the soul, birthing, creation process. I guess it doesn't matter, but it's just got like some really incredible songs on it, and I'm getting the sense that if all of this is resonating, that might be a beautiful album to turn on in the next couple days that would resonate with this energy. So with that said, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm very excited for you, and may your reality resonate with the melody of your dreams.